What the heck is happening in this video? In this video, we're gonna be talking about cleansing hacks. We're gonna give you some of our best tips to cleanse your skin to have the best outcomes. Now, most of you are cleansing the skin and you're probably doing a great job at it. We're gonna talk about some of the things we learned along the way. We're also gonna be talking about what's happening in this video. How are these sebaceous filaments just melting out of the nose? And is that the hack to glass skin? We're gonna find out.
And also in this video, we'll have some updates on some skincare devices you can use at home. And for a very limited time, you'll have like a very, very nice bundle, basically a buy one, get one free associated with this. So take advantage of that while you can.
Yeah, so we have a special offer from our friends at Qure later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. I think a lot of you are going to like this. I personally have this in my house, so we're super excited to show this to you and the special deal that they're having. It's part of our cleansing hack, so it fits really well into this video. So all thing cleansing hacks, here we go.
Here we go.
In order to avoid rage baiting all of you, we're gonna start with the first thing that we saw when we opened this video, which is the first hack, which is using a cleansing oil on the skin. Now, that's what's happening in that video that you saw. And there's hundreds of videos like this on TikTok. They're everywhere. They always go viral, but it's invariably somebody who's showing a lot of clogged pores in their nose. A lot of times we call these sebaceous filaments. They're filled up, dead skin cells that build up into your pores. And your pores are filled up with sebum and other types of oils that build up in there. And your traditional cleansers, they do a good job at a surface level getting into your pores, but they're not the best at getting in there because of the oils, right? A lot of times water repels oil and oil repels water, and so your traditional surfactants aren't great at getting in there. So the two ingredients that are really good at getting in there are any type of oil and salicylic acid. And so when you use an oil-based cleanser, it's able to dissolve those sebaceous filaments and help to remove them out of your pores.
Right. So like dissolves like, it helps break up the oil. Now, I think interestingly, I see two groups of people on this. It's either a complete scam or it's a miracle. And I think the answer is both. Because when you have a person who has clogged pores that are full of oil, you might actually get some of that sebaceous filament debris that you're looking for on your finger. You will have a good experience with this type of cleanser. If you are someone who actually just has large pores that are very empty, and I've seen this, that's my experience, larger pores, but really not much oil buildup in them, you're not gonna have any success with this because there's really not much to break down. It's actually the structure of the pore that you're noticing, and you will not get that sebaceous filament buildup either. So really there's the two experiences I see with it, but for the right person, it can work very well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And the other thing is, a lot of these videos that you see, people are definitely cheating. They're definitely, using filters. They're more zoomed in on the initial photos than they are on the outros. So don't expect to see tremendous results, but the first hack that we have here is to use a cleansing oil to dissolve some of the sebaceous filaments that have built up into your pores. And a good option here is the one from Anua that they mentioned there, and there are plenty of other oil cleansers that we can list in the description as well.
Yeah, and my favorite for a long time has been the one from Numbuzin. I can't remember if it's number 1 or number 5. We'll show it here for you too. I love that one. So a lot of good options. You don't have to just stick with the one in the video.
So next up, is headbands and wristbands when you're cleansing. So if you're like me, you hate making a mess when you cleanse. You also don't like getting your hair wet. So I'm somebody who has a lot of product in my hair when I go to bed. I don't necessarily want my hair to get wet and then drip product into my face. Many of you have used hairspray throughout the day, different types of gels, different types of heat protectants. And so if you get wet and it drips onto your face, not a great experience. Also, you don't want your hair to get wet when you're cleansing your face. And so using something to keep your hair up and also keep your hair from getting wet is a really good hack. I'm not gonna put this on. Dr. Maxfield has fully embraced his. Initially when we launched Remedy, we had these silk headbands, and every now and then we order more inventory, and sometimes we do some gift with purchases with them. Sometimes we continue to sell them, but sometimes they're available. Currently, they're not available. That's one way that you can do it. The other thing here that's also really good, and something that other people pointed out to me online, is wristbands also, right? Because nothing's worse than when you put your face into the sink and then water starts dripping down to your forearms, and then that water drips onto your floor, and then your wife is very unhappy with you, or your husband is very unhappy with you. And so basically, having wristbands, which this is not a wristband, but any type of wristband will do, this will capture any water that's dripping down and really protect it from dripping down to your elbows and then dripping onto the floor and causing a spill accident. So that's our second hack, headbands and wristbands.
Yeah, and he believes in these. Actually, if you go back to Dr. Shah's original videos, like way back, he was wearing these from the beginning. And I'll be honest with you, I had no idea why. So this is something he truly believes in. He does it in his daily life, and there is actually a benefit to using these. I actually, you know, one really big benefit I like with these is when you're using Rogaine or some sort of hair growth solution, because you really want to keep that on the areas you want to grow hair. It will grow hair elsewhere, and so to keep that in a limited area, in this case, protecting your face from your scalp. Conversely, for other ingredients, you might be wanting to protect your scalp from your face. So another great way to use that if you're trying to grow hair.
That's exactly actually how I use Rogaine. So I have my silk headband from Remedy. I put it here. I apply my Rogaine and I make sure that it gets into that frontal area where I'm losing my most of my hair. I slide it up and then I do the rest of my facial routine. So it's definitely a good way to keep these two areas separated from each other. And in fact, I also use the headband when I apply sunscreen because I'm very diligent about not getting sunscreen in my hairline because of some rare studies out of Australia showing frontal fibrosing alopecia from sunscreen use. And I'm still not saying that it causes hair loss. I'll never say that, but there is some correlation between these two. Correlation doesn't prove causation. And so as somebody who's very protective of my hairline, I'm just doing everything I can to avoid any issues there.
Yeah, sorry. And sorry about the audio about a minute ago. My microphone gets tucked in if I bend over, so it just is what it is. Next up is something that we actually both have in our houses. I also have it here in the, thank you.
Go ahead, keep going.
Okay, I also have one here in the office, and it's something you do every single day. It is your shower. So your shower water, your shower filter, and even also the water you use in your sink. And why is this important? So this is one of those silent skincare steps. Just like laundry detergent, this is something you're doing every single day. And I think many of us have had the experiences where we're traveling and we're like, what is going on with my skin? What is going on with my hair? It just falls different, lays different, like my skin is broken out, it looks rough. And really, maybe the only thing that changed was the water you're experiencing on your skin.
Yeah, so I am a big believer in this. So this is one of those things where you experience it anecdotally, right? You encounter it in your life, and you're not sure if there is science behind it. And then when you were a kid, it was one of those things where, you know, you would say it and then everyone would agree, yeah, I feel the same way. And then we didn't have Google back then, so we couldn't verify that it was a thing, but now we have Google and we can prove that things are true. But this is one of those things where I always said, even since I was a young boy, that, you know, certain water made my skin worse, right? It either made my skin drier, it made me break out, you know, whatever it was. I noticed that if I was traveling or staying at someone else's house, or I was staying at my grandma's house, anything like that, that when I used the water, that my skin quality and my hair quality was different because of the quality of the water. And I think a lot of you experience this. And I've talked about this before, so I know a lot of people validated me in the comments. A lot of you feel this way as well, where if the water where you live is not good for your skin. And there are certain areas where I lived where the water was horrible for my skin. And then I found the clinical studies to support it, where there are studies that show that depending on the water hardness where you live, it can cause eczema, it can increase your risk of eczema, it can cause dry skin, it can make your surfactants and your cleansers more stripping, so they can strip away your oils more. Not as much on acne or other things, but definitely on dry skin and irritation. The water quality makes a big difference. And the big culprit here is the calcium carbonate in your water that's causing that problem. And so, short of getting full water system treatment, you can put water filters on your sink. And so there are a couple brands that have launched these, and also you can put a water filter on your shower. And so I have these in my house. I believe in them strongly. I actually had a big problem with the water here in Tennessee until you put the water filter on the shower. And I notice it more in my hair than I notice it anywhere else. So my hair becomes like unmanageable, unstylable if the water is too hard where I am. So big fan of water filters. Again, I think I like the way that you said it. It's like a silent skincare step. Is it necessary? I would say no. Like, you know, I would do the basics first. And then if you're thinking about, hey, like my skin is feeling dry or my hair is feeling dry, that's when you want to elevate it by making sure that your water quality is good. And so what Qure is doing, very excitingly for us, which when he told me what the offer was, I was like, that's a pretty crazy, insane good deal. So they're doing buy one shower filter, right? So overhead shower filter. This is a beautiful object. You know, Qure is becoming the Apple of skincare devices. I've said it before, but beautiful shower filter, right? And if you buy that, they're gonna give you the faucet filter, is that right? Mm-hmm. The faucet filter for free. So that's a pretty sick deal. So these look super cool, as you can see here. Now, what's really cool about the water filter, and they were the first to pioneer this, because I remember when they showed this to me, I thought it was super cool. And we helped to advise them, so huge fans of the brand, huge fan of the founders. We've had them on our podcast, and they're overall just great people. And so you attach this into your sink, and then you have the filter component to it, which you need to replace at a certain cadence, right? So you have the filter component to it. But what's really cool about this is that you can actually turn the direction that the filter water comes out. So you can have it facing down, which is like the traditional way to have it. You can have it facing up towards you, and then you could use it almost as like a splash sink, which is really cool. You could use it to drink water out of it, which is also really good. So you're getting a water filter, facial cleanser, and the key thing here is, importantly for performance, the removal of that calcium carbonate. And by removing the calcium carbonate, your skin quality will be better.
Right, yeah, and actually this is I feel like this was made for me, because back with the first iteration of these, like, they were fine, but my main knock on it, and I told the brand founders, I was like, he doesn't do this apparently, but when I'm brushing my teeth, I get my face like under the sink to slurp water and then rinse and spit.
I used to do that when I was like a baby. I feel like I'm an adult now, so I use my hand to bring the water. I need to know in the comments, are you a hand and sip, or are you a face under the sink?
But I couldn't get my face under the old filter in my shallow sink. So like now it's not an issue anymore. Super easy to install, easier than the old one. And the shower head filter, I mean, this was so easy to install too. Like, I'm not a handy person, and I knocked this out in just a couple of minutes. So super easy to install. If that's a barrier to entry, don't let it be. If I can do it, trust me, you can do it too.
So pretty amazing deal, and it's a good way to upgrade your skincare routine. I think the deal is limited to just this month only, so we'll put a link below. You'll be able to shop the deal. You buy the shower filter, you get the sink filter for free, and these are super high quality, well-made devices for you. And so I highly recommend that, especially if you're somebody who notices that the water in your area has affected you, to check out a water filter from Qure or otherwise.
Yeah.
Next up, for cleansing hacks, using a dandruff shampoo on the face. And I probably try to do this at least once a week at this point. And I actually notice this, and I have a lot of patients that tell me this, and I have a lot of friends that tell me this as well. They always come to me, and this is invariably the story, and I don't know how many times you've heard this from patients, where they say to me, you know, Doc, I always have flaking in my eyebrows, and no matter how much I moisturize, the flaking comes back. I've used every moisturizer. Doc, I always have flaking in my beard, and no matter how many beard oils I use, I still have flaking. And I get this comment question all the time. And the reason why is because it's not dry skin, it's actually seborrheic dermatitis. Seborrheic dermatitis is caused by a yeast, and that yeast causes inflammation, and that inflammation causes scaling and flaking, and it's the same yeast that causes dandruff. And seborrheic dermatitis and dandruff are synonymous. One's on the scalp and one can be anywhere. And so that flaking and scaling that you're experiencing that just does not get better with moisturizer, a lot of time is that yeast on the skin. And unless you treat it, that dry skin will never go away. And since all of us come in contact with this yeast every day, treating it, especially if you're somebody who's prone to reacting to that yeast and getting that flaking inflammation, or getting tinea versicolor, or getting dandruff, using it once a week to keep it at bay, either on your scalp or on your face, is going to make a big difference.
And right, so that's like the perfect way to treat it, but also maintain it. Similarly, I do this probably at about the same cadence. I'll just use like Remedy for dandruff in my hair, find my ears, get this in your ears, your beard, and it really does a great job of keeping it at bay. Now, which one should you use? You can use Remedy for dandruff, you can use your Head and Shoulders, you can use Nizoral, you can use whatever, it doesn't much matter. You probably want to rotate it just like you rotate your dandruff shampoo, but just like anything else, in the shower, lather it up, let it sit for a few minutes before you rinse it off, and that's the whole thing.
Yeah, and this is not going to be something for everybody, but it's a really good hack if you're somebody that has any experiences like what I just described. And with Remedy for dandruff, we formulated it to be like a scalp health product. So it's not formulated, it's like shampoo, but it's not formulated like a traditional shampoo. So no fragrances, no irritating surfactants, no common preservative allergens. And so it is really kind of scalp and skin friendly in that way. So if you're looking for something that has these ingredients but isn't going to be just made for this hair, which some of those products are really not great for the skin, that is definitely a product there. And I can't promise that this product will be around forever, despite the fact that we keep selling out. There's some nuances there, and maybe one day we can talk about it. Today might not be the day, but if you're somebody who's loved this product, somebody who's already tried this product, or somebody who's been interested in this product, it might be a good opportunity to grab it while we still have it.
Yeah, this is like, I remember that awkward turtle moment. This is like kind of that moment. Anyway, that'll be fun to dive into in the future. But yes, washing your face with a dandruff shampoo can be helpful for the right person.
Next hack is using clean towels every single time that you wash your face. And I'm a big proponent of this. Now, for a long time I said, weekly change out your towels, and I still believe that you'll probably do okay with that. There's also some studies that show that towels are like dirtier than your sink after a week or so, and maybe I can pull up some papers on that at some point, but towels are essentially filthy. They're contaminated with bacteria, just like your makeup brushes, and especially if, let's say that you're in your guest bathroom, everyone's using the same towel to dry their hands, and there's all kinds of bacteria on it, and who knows what else they're drying with it, and then you're using it on your face. So that's not great for the skin. And so ultimately changing your towels frequently makes a big difference. And so if you're somebody, you want to have a set of hand towels, facial towels that you wash every week, and you put the stack next to your sink, perfectly good on you. If not, there are other options.
Right, so this is one we've talked about fairly consistently now, and the reason is it's just like practically introduced itself into our lives and against our not better judgment, but against
I would say that you were always a fan of this, and I was the one, which, I think with time, you've adopted some of my things, I've adopted some of your things, but I was a little bit of a hater on this when you told me about this, and that's the clean skin. I wouldn't say I was a hater, but I was somebody who wouldn't maybe recommend it as frequently because I didn't see the utility of it until lately.
Yeah, so Clean Skin Club towels. Now, I wasn't an early adopter, same thing. I had like the initial gut reaction. I was like, nah, this is unnecessary or like wasteful. But I had them, used them, and I was like, it's impossible to go back. So the reason these are good, we like these, is every single use is obviously clean, it's fresh. The material can be made of different things, including bamboo, but it's relatively eco-friendly. Still wasteful, but relatively eco-friendly. And then it just feels like fabric. This is not rough. It is the softest thing you'll put on your skin, and it's also very clean. So I think for someone who has a little bit of an expendable budget or dispensable budget, yeah. Then, or if you feel like this would fit into your lifestyle, I think this will do right by you, and you'll be very happy with how this plays with your skin.
Yeah, absolutely. So the quality is just so good, and once you kind of get into this, it's kind of hard. It definitely is hard to go back. And so initially, I had them, I used them 1 or 2 times. I constantly found myself gravitating towards them on my counter until the box was empty. And then I said, well, this box doesn't look great, and I don't know if we have a box somewhere, because he uses them at the office as well. So, when, patients are getting facials or they're getting cosmetic procedures and they need to remove their makeup or their sunscreen or wash their face, you have industrial sized boxes of Clean Skin Club towels now. I think you have hundreds of them at the office. And so he's using them on patients, because if you're a patient, you don't want to use a dirty towel on your face, right? You want to use a clean towel, especially if we're going to do a semi-ablative procedure on your face, right? Where you have all these holes and open wounds on the face. You want to use a clean towel before and after. And so he has the Clean Skin Club towels at the office, and the estheticians in our office use them pretty frequently. And I use them at home now. And so I basically found myself, I went from, okay, well, I don't want this cardboard box on my table. And then I graduated to actually building this into my thing. So now all my bathrooms have the official boxes. So I have the bamboo box for my master bathroom because it's wood and it's better with the aesthetic of our bathroom. And then in our guest bathroom, I have the onyx one, which is this cement black cube. And so I've really gotten into this Clean Skin Club thing. And I do think it makes a difference. I don't use them every day because I do think that they can get expensive over time, but especially like if I don't have a towel nearby or I know that the towel like near me hasn't been cleaned in a few days, I'll gravitate towards these towels in my bathroom. And I have my guests use them in the guest room because I think if you're gonna wash your face and you don't know whose towel you're using, you're somebody who is extremely hygienic like I am, you're really gonna like these. And the quality of these towels is just so good. And I used to say as jokingly to him, like, why not just use like a paper towel on your face? Like, you're just using paper towels on your face. But these are so much softer and these are like a fabric instead of like a paper. So I'm a big fan. And now they're available at Target, so you can just grab them instead of having to order them online, which saves you at least a little bit of the waste.
Yep. So again, basically don't use your dirty towel. You can use a stack of rewashable towels or clean skin club towels, whatever works, and that'll be helpful for your skin. And last hack is actually something very simple, but it doesn't seem to be intuitive. Just don't rinse off your cleanser too fast. It has active ingredients. This is especially important with ingredients like benzoyl peroxide, where they need contact time with the skin to work.
Right, so benzoyl peroxide, salicylic acid, sulfur-based cleansers, anything that it really kind of is meant there to be like a treatment cleanser. Leave it on the skin for a little bit, allow it to kind of work, allow it to settle in. Now, a lot of these surfactants and cleansers are designed to leave ingredients behind. When we formulated our hydrating cleanser, part of the calculation was how do we have a surfactant that removes oil, dirt, and debris, but then is designed in such a way that it can leave your glycerins and ceramides behind. And so it's not that if you wash it off, it like completely goes away. So cleansers can be designed, and this is something I learned later on, cleansers can be designed to leave ingredients behind, but a lot of it gets washed away. A lot of it gets washed away. And so, especially when you're having a treatment cleanser, leave it on for a little bit longer, especially benzoyl peroxide, so that it can have that antibacterial effect on the skin for your acne. And so, most cleansers, you just want to play with them for a little bit. You want to get a lather, you want the micelles to be able to absorb dirt, oil, and debris, and then wash them off. So just a simple, get to the point of a lather, good enough, but with an acne cleanser, leave it on for a little bit to make it work.
Yep, perfect. So these were our cleansing tips. Hopefully you found them helpful. Make sure if you saw this video in time, you jump on the Qure promotional bundle just to kind of revolutionize your bathroom, but also your skin. So jump on that while you can. Otherwise, we will see you next time.
Final hack I would give for cleansing that we got from the comments, and I'm just curious if anybody else has experienced this hack, but we did a video on Vaseline hacks in the past, and people in the comments invariably had mentioned Vaseline can be a great makeup remover in a bind. So I haven't tried it. I'm putting this hack here to hear from all of you whether or not you've tried Vaseline as a makeup remover and it's worked for you. So bonus hack from the audience. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.
We'll see you next time.